Welcome to another episode of Follow the Brand TV. I am your host, Grant McGaugh, CEO of 5-Star BDM, a 5-star personal brand and business development company. I want to take you on a journey through another deep dive into the world of personal branding and business development using compelling personal stories, business conversations, and tips to improve your brand. By listening to the Follow the Brand TV series, you will differentiate yourself from the competition and build trust with prospective clients and employers. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Make it one that will set you apart, build confidence, and reflect who you are. Building your 5-star personal brand is a great way to improve your skills and knowledge. If you have any questions for me or any of my guests, please email me at grant.mcgaugh@5starbdm.com. Now, let's begin with our next episode on the Follow the Brand TV.
Five-Star BDM, Brand Development Masters, is a professional consulting and advisory group keenly focused on business development services for the small to mid-sized business and entrepreneurs. Although every business is unique, they often share business development challenges that can be addressed through smart branding. Services include process improvement and operations, digital strategy and transformation, business intelligence, digital marketing, and personal branding. Our business and personal branding company has helped a number of professionals and organizations to optimize and grow. This results in more business, more opportunities, better reach, positive outcomes. Visit www.5starbdm.com today to learn more.
You followed the rules. You built the resume, earned the titles, collected the accolades. But somewhere along the way, you started to wonder, if you did everything right, why doesn't it feel like your life? We spend years perfecting the version of ourselves that gets results, the one who knows how to win, how to impress, how to fit the mold. But what happens when the mask starts to slip? When the world's expectations drown out the voice you had before anyone told you who to be? Tiffany Lauren Jones asks the question so many high achievers avoid. How do you make decisions from the version of you that existed before the world told you who to be? Because sometimes the dream life you built doesn't feel like a dream at all. When the job, the title, the performance identity fades, what's left? Who are you without the applause, the deadlines, the constant chase for more? That's when the real questions begin. Your emotions aren't just noise, they're data. Fatigue, frustration, even feeling lost. These are signals, not failures. Ignore them long enough, and eventually, something breaks. Your intuition is your check engine light. Pay attention. We're entering the intelligence age where AI can amplify your knowledge, but it can't define your identity. Technology can scale what you know, but only you can decide who you are. The performance identity thrives in someone else's system. But the sovereign brand, that's yours alone. It's the one thing AI can never generate for you. So when the signals come, don't call it failure. Call it information. Answer it. Because expertise that stays invisible helps no one.
Welcome, everybody, to the Follow Brand Podcast. This is your host, Grant McGaugh. And today we want to welcome Tiffany Lauren Jones. She is a writer, a cultural futurist, an identity evolution guide, helping high achieving, not just any women, high achieving women reclaim who they are beyond performance, productivity, and external expectations. Now, her work sits at an intersection of identity, power, culture, and self-leadership. And through her Satori agency and her identity evolution methodology, She gives language to the transition many successful women are living through. And that's the moment when the identity that helped them to survive and achieve, improve, is no longer enough for the chapter ahead. So we're going to explore the depth, I would say depth, DEATH, of performance identity and identity as economic capital and AI's impact on women's leadership and what it means to lead from a sovereignty rather than a validation. So, welcome, Tiffany, to the Follow Brand podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited for this conversation.
Well, this is going to be a great conversation. I've been wanting to lean in on this. I've been doing a lot with personal branding myself over the last 5, 6 plus odd years. You give a different dimension to a lot of these things, specifically for women that are now facing some career challenges. So, my first question for you is first, let's get into your story. What is your origin story, and what led you into identity evolution work?
Absolutely. Great question. I have a corporate background in product development. I had my dream job working in apparel product development specifically, and a dream that people really ask me all the time, how did you get that job? I want to work there. I was working at Spanx for Sarah Blakely more specifically. It's the only corporate job I've had. And I say that to say, on paper, I felt like I had done everything right. I was working in my dream field. I had an amazing job at an amazing company and, had the nice car and purchased my first home at 24, like just checking off all these boxes, like I'm doing it. And by the time I was 29, I looked up and I wasn't happy. And I couldn't understand why, because I felt like I had done everything right. I felt like I'd gotten the education, I'd done the job, I was climbing the ladder, but something was missing. I wasn't feeling fulfilled and I couldn't understand what it was. So I kept having this feeling intuitively of something's not right. The relationship that I was in, the work that I was doing, the place I was living, all the things just seemed like I was living in what I call a parallel reality. This looks like my dream life, but it doesn't feel like it. What am I missing? So, after 3 years of ignoring the feeling, I finally answered the call to quit my job. I sold my home. I left the relationship and I started over. I had no plan, which I highly do not recommend doing that, especially in today's economy. But there was something within me that was calling me to do this that got so loud I couldn't ignore it. So I went on what I call a journey of self-discovery. I did the cliche Bali trip as soon as I left corporate. I did the Eat, Pray, Love journey. I spent time alone. But in that time, my mind was blown because it was the first time I experienced true joy. I didn't have the stress and the pressure of bills or answering to anyone or going to work. And most of us don't ever experience that in our lifetimes. That's a luxury. But in that time, I said, this, I think, is how we're supposed to feel every day. How can I create a life where maybe I don't feel this way every day because, we're human and every day is not perfect, but how can I create life, work, and relationships that are as close to this feeling as possible? And what I uncovered in my now decade of research from my own lived experience, the women that I work with, and looking at neuroscience and metaphysics, is what was missing was a part of my identity. I had created what I call a performance identity, the version of me that could get the job done, that knew how to climb the corporate ladder. I knew how to follow steps and execute and get a result, but I didn't know how to follow my intuition and lead from my core self, my truth, my identity. We don't learn how to do that. So, in my self discovery journey, I had a lot of deconditioning to do. How do you make decisions intuitively? How do you make decisions from the version of you that existed before the world told you who to be? And that's a very different way of thinking. It's a very different way of being. But what I found and what my clients find is on that path is where you get the dream life, the dream reality that actually looks and feels like what you want. So that's what I've been doing.
No, man, we are kindred spirits in that respect. And then my own Brave, I have a methodology that I work through called Brave. And the very first letter of that, because it's an acronym, BRAVE, is you got to understand your identity, your brand identity. And that's more than just like some logo or, like you said, that performance, that image that you have out in front is who you are at your core. And it's not easy to get and unpack back to the core identity. You had an opportunity to do that, and I know it felt freeing, like freedom, like I can be myself again. And I think we lose some of that. Remember when we were little, real little, 4 or 5, we're in our imagination.
Yeah.
We could take anything and make it into a playground, right? We're
Yeah.
doing all that. And then as we go through school and that kind of thing, there's a lot of what I would say modeling that takes place. And instead of your ideas, you're actually entertaining other people's ideas
Right.
of creation and not just your own creation. And over time, begin to understand like, okay, in our world, yeah, I'm supposed to have the home, the house, the nice job, the beautiful relationship, and that is the picture of reality.
Right.
But you forgot the core, like the imaginative self. There was
Right.
a disconnect there. You reconnected yourself.
Yes, and boy, was it a process. It is, as you said, it is not easy at all.
No, no, it's not easy. But if we don't do that, to your point earlier, there's this feeling of you're just not in the right place. There's an uneasiness that's taking place that
Right.
not being your true self. We start hearing about imposter syndrome and things like that. Where does all that come from? Like you're not living in your true self. Now, you call yourself a cultural futurist.
Yes.
What does that mean in practical terms?
Yeah, so a futurist is someone who can look at history, see patterns over time, and not necessarily predict, but make an informed decision about what may come next. I'm careful about using the word prediction because no one truly knows what will happen. But futurists have an ability to look at data over time and have incredible pattern recognition skills. This is a
Mhm.
skill I noticed I had naturally and was already doing in my life, especially when I entered the online space in 2017. I started my business online. That's when things like blogging weren't as wasn't as new, but online business was still very fresh. And it still
Yeah.
is the Wild West in a sense. You really can get online and sell anything. You can create any business. And I was fascinated by that. And social listening is very large online as well. When you read the comments, you get a lot of data about where people are emotionally, what they respond to. All engagement is emotional. People click like and comment on something that invokes a reaction, whether it's anger or sadness or something that they relate to. And I've always been fascinated by the neuroscience aspect and the metaphysical aspect of who we are and our human experience, and also the journey that I went on. Because when you start to reclaim your identity, it's not as simple as, okay, I'm going to change this, and then I'll have the life that I want. There's a very spiritual aspect of what you go through because you have to trust in the unseen. You have to trust in things that maybe don't make sense to other people that no one can see but you because only you can see your vision. So what do
Mhm.
you do and who are you when someone doesn't believe in what you're doing, when someone doesn't approve of who you are without the conditioning? So going back to your initial question, a futurist, that's part of what I see our transition moving into. But essentially, it's someone who can look at data over time. I specialize in looking at data emotionally. What does the emotional and spiritual data say? Most people are looking at technology, politics, economics, but what
Mhm.
about the human experience? So that's what I specialize in.
I, man, I love what you said. I want our audience to lean in a little bit about this. It's some facts. I'll just give you some facts right quick. Only 5% of our known universe, let's just say, is visible. 95%, meaning pretty much everything else around us we can't see, hear, or touch. Yet that doesn't mean it's not real. It's very real. It's just not, you're not attuned to it. So to
Right.
your point, if you're attuned to the politics of the day, you're attuned to the news of the day, you're attuned to other things, you are now not seeing the whole spectrum of what's possible for us an experience. I'll give you an example of this, like in a radio. If you're tuning your radio, you can tune into a radio station. Let's say it's 95.7, and you'll get an experience there. You can then retune it, and you get to, let's say it's 99.8. You're going to get a different music. It could be a talk show, whatnot. When you can learn how to turn that dial and understand, hey, you know what? I need to tune out of that because that's bringing me down.
Right.
And what I can tune into something that is bringing me up because there's more to reality than we are experiencing. I love that about what you're talking about. And as we get into now in our world, we're starting to see a lot with artificial intelligence and things like that.
Right.
And we're starting to get more. This is a new attunement that's taking place. Like, is it real? Is
Yes.
it not real? What is identity and what is not identity? And in your take, you're saying, what is the identity evolution era, and why, in your opinion, why is it happening now?
Yes, absolutely. So there is an energetic system that I use as a tool and was very helpful for me on my journey of just understanding how I think on an energetic level, how my emotions operate and inform the decisions that I make or don't. And it's called human design. So, human design is a practice that has existed for a few decades. It's still very, very new. Most people have not heard of human design, and when they do hear it, they immediately think woo woo. So that's okay. But I say that to say, when you look into your own chart, it's a combination of systems. It uses astrology, it uses, if you're familiar with the chakra systems,
Yeah.
it's a more complex system, but it includes some other things that you may be familiar with. So in human design, we're seeing a shift that we are closing a 400-year cycle. Now, if you're not into the woo-woo and you want to look at history, this is why futurists work is so important because I look across systems. Yes, human design, but also what actual, facts and science and history do we see that lines up with this for all the people that don't believe in the woo? I like to have my facts there. So what started 400 years ago? We think of slavery. Slavery
Mhm.
existed before 400 years ago, but as we know, American slavery and the systems that were created that we're living within 400 years ago was around when all of that was beginning. So that shift is closing. That's not the only thing that's happened in that cycle, but that was a big starting point, a big marker. So as this cycle ends, we are in a position to reclaim, I feel, a lot of the spiritual energy that was stolen and lost then.
Mm.
What I mean by that is as we shift into this new era where the institutions have conditioned us to be a certain way, to talk a certain way. And when I say us, I say many people. It's not just Black people. We do live within a system, obviously, that is systematically very unfair, unkind, and cruel to people of color, but it really impacts many people, us as a collective. So we've relied on institutions to define us by the level of education that we have, corporations to tell us what kind of job is acceptable to seem socially successful, if you will. So, as these institutions are crumbling before our very eyes and we're losing trust in them because we're realizing we can't really rely on them as much as we thought, they promised us a path of safety. If you go to school, you get the education, you work the job, you'll be able to buy the house and have enough money to afford food, all these things. We're seeing that's not true. So people are losing and have lost trust in our government, in our institutions, in our corporations. As that happens, we're realizing how much of our identities have been tied to these institutions. So if
Mm.
part of what your identity was tied to is removed, what does that leave you with? It leaves you with the question of who am I without this? If I were to if my degrees didn't matter, if where I worked didn't matter, who am I? Many of us have tied our identities to our success. I have done that in the past. If my business doesn't look a certain way, if I don't get this award, if I don't get recognized by this platform, if I'm not getting podcast opportunities, then who am I, right? Is my message valid? So we're going through that on a collective level. The mass layoffs that people are experiencing, especially Black women, they're
Mhm.
also in a position where, Black women have really been in positions of, I say, over-serving, over-giving, because that's how we have been conditioned to nurture beyond, to give beyond sometimes our capacity, and to really go above and beyond of maybe what we're even comfortable doing, and having to work a lot harder. So now that we are seeing these mass layoffs, I see a spiritual aspect of what's happening. This is an opportunity for reclamation. I think it's intentional so that we can really build within our own worlds
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
and do so in a way, I call them ecosystems, like identity ecosystems. What can you build from your own gifts, your values, your talents, all your experience that you've had in an ecosystem where you will be poured into equally, if not more? What does that look like? So I said a lot of things to summarize the answer to your question. I think there's historical context of why we're experiencing this shift. There's there are always cycles that end and we enter into a new era. This next era is more about sovereignty and independence, not without community. I want to be clear on that because I get lots of comments that say, what about community? We need community. Yes, we do. But you cannot enter into healthy community without knowing who you are, without showing up authentically and knowing what your value is, what your gifts are, what are you bringing to the community. There's a lot of toxic community of, well, this is who I am and this is who I know and this is what I do and this is why I'm valuable. That's not really who you are. That's what you do. So we're rebuilding our community from those places of sovereignty where it's here's who I am authentically, and it just creates better, more aligned community that way. So there's the historical context, there's the individual reclamation context, and then there's also the spiritual element of it. So I see it that way as a couple different pillars.
I I can see the people that are listening in and they're taking some notes and they're going to probably rewind that whole segment that you just talked about because what Tiffany has done is given you permission to be yourself,
Yes.
permission to truly be yourself and to start accumulating that domain authority, your own expertise in what you do and what you do better than anyone else. This is your domain expertise, and then you can monetize that. So now you
Yeah.
survive on it, and it's coming from your authentic self. It's a fountain within yourself that's coming out. And to your point, this whole the paradigm that's now starting to fall apart. Colonialism is really what you're talking about. Colonialism is starting to really find its ending, but it's ending in a way that a lot of people don't realize was really taking place. And I'm going to bring in my technological component, which is the AI component. It's not just the artificial intelligence itself. What we're getting to point, we're moving from the information age into the intelligence age. This is going to radically change our world. It's going to
Yeah.
radically change because you're going to have so much more intelligence at your fingertips that you never had before. And it's going to validate a lot of these things you're talking about, all these touch points in yourself. Going back to what I said earlier, if only 5% of the world that you're actually operating in is a little narrow band of reality, and you start to widen that a little bit, 6%, 7%, 8%, oh, there's much more here that I can explore and work with. And I don't have to sit in this tiny little box that has
Right.
been prepared for me. And then, but I got to know how to work in this new world. And when you have more intelligence available, those same things don't work. You cannot take somebody with a, let's just say, a college education and set them in a third grade room and expect them to be, authentically engaged with that
Right.
kind of, and that's where we're going to get to that point where the normal everyday cycle and the things that have been, that we've been experiencing on a daily basis now don't really ring the same way they used to, because you have much more awareness now and you can
Right.
get that at lightning speed that you never could before. So that's going to change the construct. And I agree with you. So we got a whole new construct that's coming out. And a person like yourself is so important, because now, how do you identify yourself? How do you identify power? How do you identify self leadership and connect in this new cultural moment? That is my question for you.
Intellectual property is a big part. I want to end what I respond or how I respond with that because it ties into what you said about AI. So, how do you begin? You have to, I think, put yourself in an environment where you can hear yourself. I've joked with you, I'm in the woods.
Mhm.
I really am. And I do that often now. The first time I felt called to go into somewhat isolation, it was intuitive, it was very spiritual, and it happened on its own. So it was a bit shocking. And that's typically what happens to people. They lose the job and they
Mhm.
find themselves at home. Nothing's working. They have an amazing resume, can't get another job. I see a spiritual element of that, and that is not to spiritualize someone's very real lived experience of having very real human needs and not being able to get a job, and you need income, right? That's a very scary place to be. But as a futurist who looks at systems, I
Mhm.
have to look at multiple systems at once, right? So two things can be true at once. So if we look at the spiritual and emotional aspect of what happens when someone gets laid off, or what happens when someone gets divorced, or a huge pillar of your life, you lose a family member, or you decide to go no contact with your family, it puts you in a very reflective space. And that is the first pivot point where most people make a choice. They
Mhm.
either sit with it, they sit with that discomfort of what's coming up and what they're feeling, or they distract themselves, they numb, maybe alcohol, maybe drugs, maybe work addiction. That's a big one. Maybe it's anything where you don't have to really face how you feel. And that's
Mhm.
difficult to do because no one teaches us how to do that. We don't learn that in school. And it's one
Yeah.
of arguably, if not the most critical skills to living a happy and healthy life from your true identity, especially, is understanding your emotions and knowing how to use your emotions as data to let
Mhm.
you know what's happening in your life and to then make decisions from a place that will align you, will feel good and feel authentic. So I say get into an environment. That's why I take my many mid-year sabbaticals. I now plan them into my calendar year. Sometimes people can't take a whole month off. Maybe it's a Saturday or it's a weekend. Can you get one day to just sit with yourself? No phone, no distraction, and really ask yourself questions. Am I happy with where I am? What in my life doesn't feel good? That's where I have my clients start. We have energetic drains on us that sometimes it's like having a bunch of tabs open on your computer. Your computer's overheating, it's slowing down. You got the little, they call it the wheel of death circling, and you
Yeah.
don't understand what's happening because everything looks fine. But then you realize you have 75 tabs open that you forgot to close, and it is
Yeah.
draining
Totally. Yeah.
your computer. We are systems as well. Human design is one system for us to look at how we operate as human beings. But if we look at neuroscience, we have a neurological system within our bodies. We have so many systems that operate within us, and we don't know how they work. So our body sends us signals through our intuition and through our emotions that are like check engine lights to tell us, hey, this is something you need to look at. So you have to look at your feelings. You have to look at yourself and be honest with yourself. Even standing in the mirror, if you want to look at an exact exercise, if you go stand in the mirror and look at yourself, don't say anything. Do you feel comfortable?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Some people don't. They look in the mirror and they're like, "Ooh, I'm uncomfortable." Or if you even look in the mirror and talk to yourself, you're like, "Are you happy? What's not feeling good?" Have that conversation with yourself and see what comes
And
up.
take the time. I think we wake up in the morning and you're just on the go. You're
Yes.
automatically in this scenario that you're in.
Yep.
You haven't taken time to truly charge your spirit, like you were saying. How do you
Right.
charge in your spirit to then guide yourself emotionally as well as intellectually and then physically? You've got, those are outputs. The physical world is an output, right?
Right.
What is that? So what's driving what,
Right.
becomes a big, big thing. You've got some systems that you have to help people. These are like coping mechanisms, there's steps, things that you do. You've got your identity evolution methodology,
Yes.
diagnosis, and how architect that in the body. Give us like what is one practical step that a woman can take today to stop performing and begin leading from who she truly is?
Ooh, that's a great question. There's so many. Okay. So I think that the first step is partly what you said earlier, which is giving yourself permission to not be okay.
Mm,
Many times when we are performing, it's because we don't feel that whatever part of ourselves we're hiding is acceptable, will get us the same results, or someone has told us that truth. And that puts us in an emotional state where, okay, I have to become this version of myself to feel okay. I have to get the accolades to feel okay. But underneath, and this is from the data that I've seen, you're not okay. I don't know anyone with a high level of empathy, because there are people out there that do love the hustle life and they're like, very low on the scale of emotions. Some people truly don't operate with a lot of emotional intelligence and they're okay with that. But for someone who, and this is most women, you have those feelings, you want to live the soft life, as they say. um, Giving yourself permission to not be okay, to admit that, actually, I am tired. Actually, I do feel burned out. Actually, I am feeling really stretched. I think that's the first step because most people, especially the women that I work with, they have a hard time slowing down. This was what I experienced as well. It was
mhm.
hard, even though I said, I'm working, I'm doing all this so I can have freedom, so I can go to the beach and relax and spend time with my family and my husband, all these things. And then when I had the opportunity, it was, oh, what's next? I need to do more. So it's really hard. So I think that's the first step is giving yourself permission to not be okay.
Yeah.
And what does that look like practically? Plan time off
I
with
like that.
no agenda. No agenda. Even if you're going on vacation, don't pack the vacation with a bunch of activities. Can you go sit with yourself? Go on a walk. Pottery is something that I started when I was really wanting an activity. Find something that allows you to connect with your mind, body, and spirit. If it's hard for you to sit still, like for many of us it is, what
Mhm,
can you do that's not work, that doesn't produce an outcome,
mhm.
and doesn't require you to be on, doesn't require you to perform? And let me tell you, I highly encourage anyone listening, try pottery. It will humble you very quickly. Okay. I started taking pottery. I've been making ceramics for a few years now. My first few weeks of class, I cried. I was very frustrated. I thought I was patient. I learned I was not because I did not have a masterpiece right away, and I was very upset about that. Why is this not perfect? So it allows you to be a beginner again, and it trains you to detach from an outcome. You can spend weeks creating a piece in pottery and get to the last step, and it can crack or something
Mm.
goes wrong. And then what? You spent all this time thinking you're going to sell this beautiful piece. And that's the other thing. Like, I didn't sell right away, but I was immediately thinking, how can I monetize this? Like, no, just,
Getting the purpose.
just enjoy the process. So ceramics was a really, because you have to get your hands dirty, you have to mold it, you have to be patient with each layer and each step before you get that final outcome. And even then, it's not guaranteed. And if you do decide to sell, because I eventually did sell my pottery, you then have to let it go out into the world, and you start over. And maybe you make something that's really ugly, and you have to wait before you can sell anything again.
Doing it.
So,
You're doing what you said you have to do. And
yeah,
I give an analogy on what I got out of what you just said is that you've got to connect with your source, the source of a life force within
yes,
yourself. No matter, it's not about your beliefs, but you've got to connect to a real source.
yes,
Because just like your cell phone, what happens when it's not connected? Eventually, it's going to run out of juice and it's not working anymore. Your laptop,
exactly.
what happens when you don't have gas in your car? What happens? It stops working. So if you don't connect to an actual source, you don't refill on that source, it's going to be problematic. And sometimes we don't know that as we go forward. You'll start showing up health problems, wealth problems, relationship issues because you're running
Yep,
out of juice. So what
yep.
I do, I have what I you chose pottery, right? I am into story, writing my
Mm,
story and the episodic stories of my life that I start to step back from that and just really write these things out of the scene that I'm in, the character that I'm playing, the other characters. These are real realities. But 5 years ago, what was that scene looking like in 2021? What was that scene looking like maybe in 2015? And you start to see progression and you start to connect some dots. I don't think a lot of people take the time to really start looking at their lives in chapters, right?
yes,
And really seeing like, oh, and then he's like, well, that was a hard chapter, but what did you learn from that? What did you
right.
really learn? In the moment now, it's hard to see. But that's why I say go back 5 years ago and what was happening. And then I do that and like, wow, that's interesting. So now I'm in a position to tell other people about the things that I do from a personal brand perspective, business development perspective, because I've lived that experience. I know kind of where they're at and I can help them. To your point, that's what I'm selling. I'm selling that expertise and showing other people how to climb that mountain that they're on. And then
Right.
you're like, hey, I've been there. I've been on top of that mountain, at the bottom of that mountain in the darkness, and it does eventually come to the light. But you've got to go through the journey, and no one wants to do that. But
No.
you're in a situation that you have no choice. And to this point, to your point now, what's happening now with this huge social economic change that we're looking at it from an AI perspective or artificial intelligence. That's one aspect of that. It's just the culture itself is changing. We're not the same group of individuals we were before COVID. Think about that.
Right.
We're more technologically savvy. We've got a lot more change going on. You're looking at the most uh, um, successful companies in the world, all digitally enabled. This is happening in a very rapid period of time if we really think about it. And
Right.
stressing some people out, like, you know what, I was used to doing certain things a certain way, and that way automatically now has changed.
Not
But
working.
fundamentally, and I think you nailed it in the very beginning of our conversation, feelings and emotion, these are very human things. How are you feeling? Are you feeling like you have less power? Do you
Right.
feel drained? Are you feeling lost? All these things are like, all right, that's a sign to get back into your source. And then, all right, it's time to rechemicalize myself. She said something
Yeah.
really, I'm gonna let you guys in for a secret. She told me, like, hey, this is her halftime. She goes in half point of the year and she says, you know what? I'm going to take it into the locker room and I'm going to reassess. I thought that was so beautiful. Come back out. It might be a whole new game plan for the rest of the year. That was beautiful.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. There's always a new game plan because we shift energetically throughout the year. So if we look at the seasonal cycles, that's another system that I track. Seasonal cycles, because we are nature. We know we are humans and we get in our head and we think that we're not. But at the end of the day, we are also animals. We are also a part of this natural system, living organisms that are here on Earth, right? So, why wouldn't we be connected to nature and the cycles, right? Our calendar and the systems that we work within, especially if we're looking at traditional work environments like corporate, do not align with the seasonal cycles, which I believe is a large part of why most people are tired, is because we're not having those locker room moments. There's no time for rest. Okay, you get a few days off for Christmas around holidays, but even then, you're probably focused on buying gifts and hosting, and there's just no end. And then it's Groundhog's Day, you do the same thing again. I found myself getting burned out over and over and over again. And there's a different level of burnout. I experienced burnout in corporate, and that was different because, the paycheck's coming in. If you get tired, you can show up to work and maybe you're a little tired at your desk. When you're an entrepreneur and you experience burnout, is a different game because that
Mhm.
check's not coming if you're not working.
For the-
And yes, so what I was experiencing was what happens when I get tired? How do I build a system, especially using my intellectual property that allows me to rest, that allows me to align with nature's cycles? So if we're looking at the energetic new year, that's what I've started working within, changed my whole life. I have more energy. I feel more in alignment. Why are we trying to create and build things in winter? That's when everything's dead. If we look at nature, that's
Yeah.
everything else is sleeping and we're up trying to plant seeds. We can see in nature that's not when the ground is fertile. So when I started thinking that way, when is nature showing me it's the best time to plant seeds?
Mhm.
Not just in the world, but within myself, and started working that way, it changed everything. So June is the month we're in now, depending on when you're listening to this. And June is the middle of when things are growing,
Yeah.
right? But you
Yeah.
also have to assess your land because a garden cannot continue to grow if you don't trim the weeds, if you don't water it, if you don't assess, what needs a little bit more nourishment. I love gardening as well. So this is also, I'll get into gardening. That's a great
Gardening,
thing.
pottery,
Yes.
yeah, is a good thing.
Yes. And then we lead up to harvest season in the fall.
Mm.
And so preparing between now, the second half of the year, if you will, is what do I need to bring in the largest harvest in fall so that I'm stocked up for winter?
Yes.
Instead of trying to go out and forage in a season where nature is showing me the fruits aren't there.
No, it's barren. It's not the growing season.
This is
That's
not exactly. So
yeah.
June is every year I take this time to look at what has worked, what has not worked from the beginning of the year, what feels good, what's draining me, what's, energizing me, what's nourishing me, what's going to really have my garden grow and thrive between now and the next season in fall so I can really, really bring in the biggest harvest so that when it's time to hibernate and relax, wintertime is when I write. That's my season to reflect and
Mhm.
prepare for the spring season again. So that's the cycle that I like to be on.
I love that cycle. This has been a great podcast episode. I think a lot of people got, I know I got a lot out of it as far as listening to you, balancing yourself, taking understanding where you fit in the system of everything, and start
Absolutely.
partaking in more than that 5% that's visibly in front of us. This is 100% of life is there. Just how do we then take more of it? You're showing people how there's a different way. I see why you have a wait list out there now. Get in front of you, like, hey, because there's a 12-month course. So, how do people get in touch with you so they can learn more about Tiffany Lauren Jones?
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me everywhere on the internet, website, socials, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at Tiffany Lauren Jones. LinkedIn, it's all the same. Tiffany Lauren Jones. Identity Reclamation Year is my 12-month guided experience where we really uncover where you've been performing and redesign your identity from a place that feels more aligned and authentic so you can make decisions for your life, your relationships, and your work from that place. And then decide what can I build from my lived experience, my intellectual property? How can I use AI to do that? We are in a very beautiful window right now where AI, not despite the moral and some of the issues with what it's doing to the earth. We're addressing that. That's important to acknowledge. But there's also a beautiful opportunity to really maximize AI to build something, to build your own identity ecosystem. Who are you? What are your gifts, your values? And what IP do you have based on your lived experience that you've been building in corporate? That is, you've used your brain to build something. So I say that to say the program is a foundational tool to take the time, because a year is just a drop in the bucket of the true process of reclaiming your identity. It's a lifelong commitment to showing up authentically and to your personal evolution. And AI, again, is a beautiful opportunity to build something that gives you time freedom without the stress as well. So you can talk to Grant about the AI and come to me about the identity.
They're important, but I talk about HAI. That's the human with artificial intelligence. The human is the most important aspect of that, and we do have to get more mature in how we've uncovered this new reality. But now we have to nurture it, and it has to be in balance with our other natural system that we do not control. The cosmic system, the evolutionary systems, these are very important to make sure they're in balance. Otherwise, it could be, you have bad effects on that. So I love what you're stating around that. I want to encourage your entire audience to tune into all the episodes of Follow Brand. You can do so at 5-Star BDM. That is the number 5. That is star, STAR. B for brand, D for development, and for masters.com. You can see a lot of different episodes and guests, just like Tiffany Lauren Jones, sharing all this important information. So thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
You're welcome.
Man, who's your favorite podcaster? Man, Grant, man. I love Grant's podcast. Well, who's Grant? I'm going to send you the link. I love Grant.
I love the interview. I've done a lot of these, and this is a great one. It's always great to talk to people who know what they're doing, and it's clear you're a great host, and you've done this many times before.
I feel great that we're having this conversation here. Met a new person in business who I previously didn't know.
It was an amazing podcast. Grant is an amazing interviewer. I learned a lot.
Really enjoyed this. Great questions, great talk track. Super appreciate you having me on. It's been a very fun episode to talk about a lot of things that I don't always get to dive into. So this has been a fantastic conversation.
I wouldn't be where I am here today, of course, not on this stage. However, not in my current business projection and my current business model without working with you.
The difference between influence and legacy, it's the platform that carries your voice. You're not visible because you lack talent. You're visible because your brand doesn't speak. I've built 5-Star BDM to change that. Most leaders have the expertise, but not the presence, the vision, but not the vehicle. Across 3 cities, one brand is helping leaders rise above the noise. Here in the heart of Omaha, strategy isn't left to chance. It's engineered with precision. In Omaha, we engineered your executive brand, AI-powered, data-driven, precise. TISA went from a local nonprofit to a national speaker in 90 days. We don't guess your brand strategy, we build it. On the shores of St. Croix, your brand takes on depth and meaning, shaped through curated retreats and legacy experiences. In St. Croix, strategy becomes soul. Our retreats don't just refine your message, they rediscover your mission. One founder rewrote his entire company story here. Funding followed 30 days later. This is where leaders remember who they were meant to be. In vibrant Miami, momentum meets amplification, transforming your voice into a movement. In Miami, your brand becomes a movement. Business development accelerators, audience building. Joy came with an old website and an outdated company name, but she left with 5,000 followers and a waiting list. This is where you scale with soul. 3 cities, 1 mission. Your legacy ignited. It started with a thread. Let's pull it together. Stop blending and start leading. 5-Star BDM, where legacy is engineered, embodied, and ignited. Visit 5starbdm.com and book your brand audit today.
What if you could unlock the power of your personal brand, no matter where you are in your journey? That's the heart of Follow the Brand, a podcast where host Grant McGaw reveals that everyone, yes, everyone, has a brand worth sharing. Whether you're a Fortune 500 CEO, an entrepreneur in transition, or just starting to explore your purpose, this show is your invitation to discover what makes you unique. Each episode features intimate conversations with remarkable guests. You'll hear from branding legends like David Auker, Fortune 100 executives, quantum physicists, space mission launchers, and AI innovators. Grant dives deep into their stories, uncovering the purpose and authenticity that drive them forward. But this isn't just about learning from the best. It's about finding the universal patterns that connect us all. Through the BRAVE framework, brand identity, resilience, authenticity, vision, and execution, you'll see how a healthcare executive draws inspiration from an endurance racer's grit, or how an entrepreneur learns strategy from a CIO's tech journey. With over 225 episodes and 50,000 downloads, Grant brings 3 decades of business expertise and wisdom to every conversation. If you're ready to build your executive presence, navigate a career change, embrace new technologies, or simply tell your story more powerfully, Follow the Brand is your guide. Your brand and your purpose are already within you. Let's bring them to light. How many times have you heard the word artificial intelligence in the last month? Now ask yourself a better question. How many times has artificial intelligence actually put money in your pocket? Artificial intelligence is everywhere, but revenue is not. Here is a truth most small businesses do not want to admit. Your next customer could be calling right now, and nobody is answering. It is not because your team does not care. It is because your system is broken. Missed calls mean missed revenue, and every unanswered call is a lost opportunity. In this episode of Follow the Brand, Grant sits down with the leaders of WeLevel to explore how agentic artificial intelligence is changing the game for small businesses. Not with more hype, but with speed to lead and real implementation. Imagine systems that answer, qualify, schedule, and follow up with customers, even when you are off the clock. This is not about replacing your brand, it is about protecting it. The businesses that win in the artificial intelligence era will not be the ones with the most tools. They will be the ones that know how to connect artificial intelligence to revenue. Watch the latest episode of Follow the Brand, your business called Nobody Answered. Are we building a workforce strategy, or are we just buying a tool? This is the question that sits at the heart of every conversation about artificial intelligence today. For many organizations, the focus has been on the technology itself, but the real challenge is much deeper. It is not about the latest software or the most powerful algorithm. It is about leadership. Most organizations are asking the wrong question about artificial intelligence, not because they lack intelligence or vision, but because nobody told them the question had changed. Grant McGaw, CEO and founder of 5-Star BDM, puts it simply: the conversation has shifted. Artificial intelligence is no longer just about machines that create things. As Michael Fawcett, founder and CEO of Arian Research, explains, we moved from machines that create things to machines that do things. That is a completely different kind of thought process. Every enterprise pilot that has ever failed did not fail because of the technology. It failed because of people. The real obstacles are not technical limitations, but human ones. Leadership, communication, and vision are what determine whether artificial intelligence initiatives succeed or stall. The technology is ready. The question is whether leaders are prepared to guide their teams through the change. As Michael Fawcett points out, it's more of a change management issue than anything. If you say we're building a hybrid workforce and nobody's losing their job, you'd have much better adoption. The real work is not in the code, but in the culture. Change management, not computing power, is what drives successful adoption of agentic artificial intelligence. Agentic artificial intelligence is not a technology investment. It is a workforce strategy. There is a difference. The difference is everything. Organizations that understand this distinction will be the ones that thrive. Those that do not will struggle, no matter how advanced their tools may be. Michael Fauchette has advised Fortune 500 companies through this exact transition. With 35 years in the engine room of enterprise technology, his insights will change how you think about what you are actually building. Listen to the full conversation on the Follow the Brand podcast. Agentic AI is not a technology problem. It's a leadership problem. Available now on all platforms and at 5starbdm.com.
I want to thank everybody for coming out here and join our center here at the Enterprise on 96 and L. This is the grand opening of 5-Star BDM in Omaha, Nebraska, my hometown, and I can't wait to bring these services in healthcare, technology, and finance to all of you. Welcome to 5-Star BDM Studio. This is where we are making the Follow Brand Podcast TV series and the Follow Brand Podcast itself. This is where the magic happens. Thank you again for tuning into the Follow Brand Podcast. I am your host, Grant McGaw. We are going to feature those who are looking to scale and grow their business to the next level in the world of healthcare, the world of technology, and finance. I want to thank you all for tuning in week by week, because this is how we grow our brand to the highest level. I want to thank each and every one of you, first of all, for taking the time to share your vision, your ideas with us at 5-Star BDM, so we can take what you have and bring it to an ideal state. We want to focus on you. Welcome to the Follow Brand Podcast. Today we're going to talk about unleashing your visibility of value. One of the biggest problems that small business owners have is that their value is not visible. We change that for everyone. Now, for 5-Star BDM, and you're looking to be a client, you're looking to scale, you're looking to move yourself to a whole nother level. This is the way you do it. First, you book an appointment with me. You get a free consultation. We're going to talk about where you're currently at in your journey. We want to understand your brand assessment. From there, we start with the BRAVE framework. And the BRAVE framework that I have patented, I have a copyright and a trademark on. We're talking about brand identity. We're talking about resilience. We're talking about authenticity. And we are talking about visibility and execution. If this rings true for you, it'll ring true for your business. Hey everyone, it's Grant McGaw, CEO of 5-Star BDM and host of the award-winning Follow the Brand podcast and TV series, where I help you to build a 5-star brand that people will follow. My genius is personal brand development through intelligent communication and helping you achieve your business and career goals. I am a requested speaker on digital technology and brand development issues. I want to work with you to increase the value of your current opportunities while attracting new ones. Every one of you is unique, and we all share challenges that can be addressed through smart branding. As a super connector, I work with you as an executive coach to guide you along the complicated business and career development road, providing the enhancement tools and information you need to succeed. Together, I will help you succeed in today's challenging business climate. I will evaluate and measure your progress. Best of all, I am right alongside you every step of the way. Build the brand called you. Genius. tune in for our next show or click on our website at www.5starbdm/followthebrandtv. Thank you.